Welcome to the EchoCast episode 51. That is one short of an entire year. And to that, and to the release of Division 2, I say the title of this podcast, holy shit. That's seriously all I can think about. This won't be a witty intro with AKAs and references to amazing podcasts because Greg Miller might be listening. And I don't want to embarrass myself again by saying the name of his podcast wrong. So this will probably be a bit of a short podcast. This is a podcast based on Division 2, and the reason it will be short is because I want to go back and play. And because most of the information I feel like most of us still know, but I'm still happy to cover it. We have some topics to go over. We have State of the Game recap, and then Division news, and then community topics and discussion. No listener questions this week. Some content updates, then a wrap up, and then I'm jumping back into DC. So let's jump right into State of the Game recap. We had Hamish, Christian Pana, and Julian Garrity on. Just to be straight up, there wasn't really any information given out. At the time, they talked a whole bunch about a patch that was coming or had already been deployed, but we've had like 3 more patches since then, and it seems like they're nipping a bunch of these little bugs very quickly. They talked about a bunch of known issues. I think they did kind of make a point that not everything's going to be fixed like today or already, but that for the most part, it seems like they at least have an eye on most of the issues I've seen people talking about, which is good. They talked about especially, and this is something I plead to people as well, if you have issues, if you have a video, screenshots of a problem, even if you have balancing concerns or exploits with gear and looting and stuff like that, please post it to the official forum on ubisoft.com, or probably I think you can access it through thedivisiongame.com. Because I see way too many people posting on Reddit and Twitter and so on. And while there is a presence in those places, even if you tag a dev directly, I that isn't an official thing. So when you post to the forums, there's people who work, for the game, people like Amper and stuff like that, who go to the forum specifically and take issues people bring up on there, and on there they give you a template of what system do you have, was it replicated, could you fix it, when did it happen in context. It lets you post videos and so on, and it puts it right into a pipeline to be looked at by a dev and potentially fixed. When you post it on Twitter and Reddit and stuff like that, Reddit I don't think is officially owned by the game. It's a fan run thing that has a lot of connection to the team, but still. And Twitter, you guys have to understand that these devs and especially the community team are just getting inundated right now with hashtags and mentions and all of this stuff. I also have kind of noticed, this is probably just me being me, that sometimes these things on Reddit and Twitter, I will like to believe that they always have good intentions, but sometimes I have to say it seems like maybe there's a little attention seeking going on with the way that people report some stuff on there. So just use the forums. If you want to post about it in the other places for awareness, definitely do it. But please, for the love of all that's good, post on the forums and make sure it gets looked at in like an official way. After that, Hamish clarified and made sure to reinforce that the hashtag agent highlights and hashtag the Division 2 photos, cough, also use hashtag division shots for reasons. Cough. Those contests are going to be starting up soon, I assume this month. So the hashtag agent highlights and hashtag the Division 2 photos on Twitter will have basically it's kind of like a light community contest, and the winners will get one of the 2 different Brian Johnson statues. So the one you can currently buy separate on the Ubi store, and it's not posable. It's kind of like the statue from the first game where it's static. It's the one I actually bought, and it's really cool. I believe it's actually the same scale as the statue from the first one, because when they're beside each other, they look good together. So that's like the tier 2 prize. The tier 1 prize for these contests will actually be the opposable Brian Johnson figure that has a whole bunch of accessories and working zippers and actual pockets, and the guns do all this stuff and fold, and they're super cool. And that's the one that comes with the Phoenix edition. Now, it doesn't appear they're giving away the Phoenix edition, you know, nip that in the bud right now, but they are giving away the statue that comes with it, which if you didn't feel like spending $200 on the game, winning that statue is probably the only other way you can get it. Just throwing it out there. So check it out, you know, submit agent highlights. If you, I really encourage you guys to tag other people with these tags too. I'm seeing a lot of people posting really, really cool screenshots, but not tagging. So throw a hashtag the Division 2 photos on there. You know, I'm seeing other people doing cool cosplay or having funny videos, or I'm doing good informational posts or videos and stuff. You know, tag those with agent highlights, you know, hashtag agent highlights. That's a good way. You know, we see, and this isn't a bad thing, you know, because it includes myself, but there was a time back in, I think 2017 or last year, I can't remember, where I think I was featured on agent highlights like 3 months in a row. I will never complain about that. I was super honored by it. But I kind of noticed that a lot of the same names get featured over and over again. And while I'll definitely be trying to get featured again one day, I think it's really cool to see new people get in there, because that's a way I find people as well. I love seeing people get featured in these things who I've never heard of before. So tag other people. If you see cool stuff, make sure it gets recognized. I think it's a really good way for the community to come together. We have to keep in mind there are probably literally millions of people playing this game right now who never played the first one, who were never involved in this community. And while, you know, that's going to come with the good and the bad, I think people need to realize too that there's creators who are about to show up and get popular, who may end up being some of the best creators that we've ever had in the community. And if they don't get that attention, you know, we can't just stick to our old selves. You know, as much as I have anxiety about getting pushed out, as much as I know other people have that feeling, it's, if you just keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna be fine. And if anything, you know, latching on and finding these new creators, it's only a way to strengthen ourselves and strengthen the community, especially with this game that's come out in such a good fashion already. So tag people, it's a good thing. Julian and Christian talked quite a bit, and they talked a lot about how they feel about everything, about what it was like developing this game and what it meant to them, and kind of, you know, making a sequel to a game that was really, really hyped up, that sold extremely well, but had kind of a letdown of a release, but then brought itself back, you know, a good amount. And it was just kind of interesting getting their insight. And if you want it specifically, I'm not going to sit here and narrate what they said, but you can check out the VOD on YouTube and Twitch and so on. What was interesting as well was how they talked a lot about how obviously they're really focused on the upcoming content, the DLCs and the other patches and other, you know, things we'll get. But that more than anything, their top priority was the health of the game when it comes to exploits, bugs, and balance, and so on. They did go on to talk about the release and how they actually, which was kind of a fun story, and I think I saw this picture, but when they opened up the game for early access, they literally had the engineers wire up a big giant red button for them to hit to activate the servers worldwide. Now, the little joke that they made about it was that the way that this would work, since it was actually being hooked up to do it, it actually has to be held down for I think 5 seconds, which means that Christian and Julian basically held hands on top of the button for 5 seconds, and it seemed to be a fun moment for them. So and that was about it, to be totally honest. This day of the game seemed like it was more of like a chance for these guys to come on and chat, which honestly I think is great. These people, you know, we all know Julian pretty well. We don't know Christian as well. He seems to kind of do his own thing, which I don't blame him one bit. But it's nice to hear from these people and kind of get to see the emotional side and the emotional reaction of, you know, people have to keep in mind that to them, this is their baby. You know, this is their digital baby. You know, hundreds of thousands of people have spent many more thousands of hours, you know, creating this and working on this for the last 2+ years. And, you know, they're showing it to us. You know, they've been showing us bits of it for a while, but this is the first time that, you know, they're sending their kid to college. and the world is going to do with them what it will, you know. And I think that people, you know, it's kind of like, you know, their baby is going to college, walking for the first time and talking for the first time, and everyone in the world is judging it. And so I think the anxiety and excitement and all of that, I felt like the state of the game was to kind of show that. And it was nice. It was cool. So state of game recap. There you go. For Division news, honestly, this week was just such a whirlwind. It was kind of hard to really nail down a lot of stuff. I feel like most of the stuff I'm seeing posted and talked about are just lots of first impressions and reviews and stuff. So I'll just talk about the reception from the community. It seems really positive. Now, I think it's definitely worth mentioning the honeymoon period, and I think that that's something that we are all susceptible to. New stuff, yay, awesome, can't wait. I don't think that anyone's gonna try to fool anyone else and act like there's absolutely zero issues in Division 2. There's definitely a few, you know, maybe more than a few. And I think that what's different this time is that, one, they've already taken care of a bunch of stuff. This isn't their first rodeo. I think that they also, more than anything, at least from what I've noticed with the fixes they've done already, is they've learned better on how to prioritize. So maybe we'll have some cosmetic bug that may hang around for a few weeks or maybe even longer, but they're trying to knock out things like gear exploits and stuff like that, like within hours or days. And the big thing is that what having a better release does, and what having all these people say good things about the game does, is it gives you credit. It gives you leeway. So if a bug does pop up, or there's an issue with a balance, or there's an issue with something, or there's an exploit that comes, you know, if your game has a rough release with bad servers, connection issues, you know, problems like, you know, the game dying and stuff like that, you then, if there's issues with the core of the game that you need to work on, then it only, you know, amplifies that. I mean, I you know, Anthem unfortunately is a great example of this, and that it had issues with release, it had hardware problems, it had deep down very very hard to argue against problems, which only amplifies the fact that one of the starter rifles was the most powerful gun in the game. That amplifies, you know, the other issues that people have, where if the game had a good release, then an issue like that is like, oh, you silly guys, you better fix that, and they do, and it's not a big deal. So it seems like with Division 2, they've earned that credit, and it seems like it's going pretty well. The other little bit of news I saw kind of in passing was that someone posted and somehow got this World Tier 5 screen. I'm not sure if you get it at the end of World Tier 4. I'm not there yet. I'm at level 29 actually, as of this podcast. When you hear it, I'll probably be, you know, way further ahead, but it showed, you know, the World Tier 5 screen, and the interesting thing is that it mentioned 3 gear sets. I looked for this picture, I couldn't find it again, so I couldn't find the names of them. The one we've already heard about, they made I think GameSpot or IGN or someone made a video about it, but it mentioned 2 more. So it looks like when they reveal and release World Tier 5 and we get the Black Tusk Stronghold, which is Tidal Basin, we will have access to the ability to grind for 3 gear sets. The gear sets, I believe, are 5 and 6 piece gear sets. So if you only have 1, 2, 3, or 4 pieces of it on, it doesn't do anything, and it's probably going to make you way weaker since you don't have all the brand set bonuses. You'll need to have 5 or 6 pieces on. I think, and I'm willing to bet, they did 5 piece because they may give you the option to run 1 piece of exotic gear when those get released. But we'll have to see how it actually goes. But I thought that was some neat news. It's, you know, going to be exciting to see them talk about those other 2 gear sets before they release, but we'll have to wait and see. So when it comes to community topics and discussion, just my first impressions, I think they're probably fairly obvious. I try to be really aware of my bias in the fact that I'm a giant fanboy of the first game. I got sent to E3 as a star player for Ubisoft. I got sent to San Francisco for a preview event to record, and I talked to devs, I talked to PR people, you know, all these things, you know, I try to be really obvious about, because what I think is that if someone, you know, I've been called many things, including a shill and, you know, lots of other fun names. But what I try to point out is that there's definitely people who have bias, who have been paid, who, you know, hashtag ad and all that fun stuff. I mean, I've never been paid. I've definitely gotten some extra special treatment, and I get that. So my point is that I believe I'm the type of person who can take those things into consideration, be honest about them, and then put them to the side and give an honest opinion. So how I feel about the release is I knew I would like basically anything they gave us, right? Like, that's where my bias comes in. I would have been excited over pretty much anything. I think the starkest thing I've noticed, and the thing that surprised me the most, is that knowing that, acknowledging that, taking that into account and being okay with it, I'm still really amazed. My mind's blown. The fact that I knew there'd be a lot, I knew it'd be cool, I knew it'd be good, I knew I would like it pretty much no matter what, but that I recognize that not only do I appreciate it and enjoy it, but it's even better than I imagined. And honestly, for the hopes I had for this game, I tried to keep them realistic, but that was probably gonna be a tough bet. That, like, it's honestly done really, it's really blown my mind. The the story missions are really good, and they're long, they take forever, and that's so cool. And then they're different, and there's surprises in them, and there's things that, you know, they change every time you play them, and a little bit. But the side missions, like, most of the side missions are better than the main missions of Division 1. And it's not really a rip on Division 1. I thought those missions were fine. The main story missions, they were, you know, they didn't blow anyone out of the water, and they weren't overly complicated, but like, it just blows my mind every time I'm playing one of these side missions. They're just better, and that's crazy. And then I have these other situations where, you know, I just have all these moments that just make me grin so big, where like, I'll see this locked door and there'll be a bunch of loot behind it and I can't get to it. And so then my brain instantly goes into this mode of, okay, maybe there's a lock on the back of the door and I need a different angle on this door to open it. Or maybe there's wires running from the lock on the door somewhere. I need to shoot this panel or turn on this button or go on this computer, and then it will open the door. And that happens like in the middle of missions and side missions. And like, I get that that's not the biggest deal on earth, there's very little puzzling to it. You know, there's a few like very light puzzles, but really you could just accidentally figure them out. But it's the fact that in the middle of a mission where the whole idea is to track down this person or kill this guy or save this civilian or whatever, that there's these moments where I, you know, stop and I ignore that for a minute, and then I lock in on this little side thing. I've also found myself all the time run into a side mission to complete it, and then I run into the snitch who gives you bounties, and I'm just like, oh man, well, this mission's gonna take more than 15 minutes probably, maybe, and this bounty runs out in like 14 minutes now, and so I'll just run completely away from this mission I was starting to go do this bounty, and then I'll die. I don't even win, I don't even get it, and I'm not mad because it was fun. And I think those are some of the elements about this game that it's just interesting. And for me, I've just absolutely loved watching Reddit and Twitter and other things where like, I'm loving seeing people on Reddit, especially like, hey, I ran into this enemy who looked like another agent, but he was in all black and had a bunch of watches, and he just ran away from me into a cloud. Like, you know, for a Division 1 fan, you know what's going on there. And it's so fun to watch people be like, I think I found a secret boss. It's like, nah, he found you. Like, you didn't find him, he found you. And it's just the guns are fun to shoot, and you know, there's still some balancing stuff that I think needs to be done with different things, but I just, it's just surprised me. You know, this game could have done almost anything to impress me, and I recognize that and I admit that, and it still absolutely blew those expectations out of the water. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. Again, before all the shill bombs start coming. Like, there's problems with the game. It's not perfect, but the thing is that it's released in such a good state that it's okay for now that those issues are there. You know, they've earned themselves credit. They've earned themselves time. In the way that they're being so proactive with these patches, and the acknowledgments to the community, the bug list they have is huge. They're acknowledging there's a crap ton of bugs right now, but they're working on them, and they're actually acknowledging them this time, and they're being open and honest about what's going on. And while I'm sure they're not hearing every single human that says something, it seems like they're really trying to make an effort to respond to people. I mean, I've seen, you know, Julian's obviously basking in the glow of everything that's happening, but I'm still seeing him respond to this person with 2 followers who's bringing up this issue and tagging him and 40 other people in it. You know, he doesn't have to do that. He can delegate that to someone else. He can ignore it, but he's not. And I've noticed a lot of them are doing this. And will that last forever? Honestly, I think it may, because that's kind of how he is and how a lot of these people are, but maybe it won't. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But my first impression almost has as much to do with the community and the dev team as it does the game, because everyone's so happy, and that's to be expected at the release. But I was here when the first game came out, and it was different. People were happy. People were excited for this new thing that finally came out after 6 years or whatever, 3-4 years, whatever it was. But it turned pretty quick, and I just think this is different. It's not perfect, but it's different. And there is your shill first impressions. The other thing I found, some little discussion here, was I was kind of curious. There were some exploits when the game first released. I think some of them have been patched. I don't know if all of them, but mostly had to do with getting loot really fast. If anyone remembers the hell that was Bullet King, and when Falcon's Lost came out and you could hide in a wall and sticky bomb or snipe the tank and easily get gear, and it was kind of nasty. I put out a poll on the Division 2 Hub Twitter account and said, hey, what do you guys think they should do about people who exploit and get gear, and like, how should they handle it? And here, I'm gonna try to pull it up so I can see how many people voted. So at the end of it, I had, let's see, I can't find it. I had 226 votes. Honestly, that's nothing, and that's nothing to really take any real results from. I would want at least 2,000 or 3,000 before I'd be really confident, but we'll still talk about it. So 19% said nothing should happen, 35% said gear wipe, 15% said character deletion, and 31% said account ban. Now, my personal choice was gear wipe. I think if someone intentionally goes out and repeatedly and obviously abuses a gear exploit to further themselves over others, they should have their gear wiped. Maybe there's like there's a setting they can use where they say this username, boom, gear wipe. It gives them some okay gear so that they aren't completely screwed. But I don't know. I think that if this stuff happens, see, the thing is, and the genius, I think, and not giving us World Tier 5 yet, was it's given them time to see what's up, to feel it out, right? It's given them time to, ooh, there is this gear exploit. Well, since we're only World Tier 4 at the most, what we can do is, well, sorry, you know, well, dang, those people exploited it. Now they have all this gear, but as soon as World Tier 5 opens up, who cares? And if they can take care of most of those issues before World Tier 5, then it should be good, because once we hit World Tier 5, unless they eventually open up more world tiers, which I actually think might be possible, we'll have to wait and see. This World Tier 5 gear that people start getting once they open it up, that's permanent gear. That will probably be gear that people will use maybe for the lifetime of this game, unless of course they change things up. We'll have to see. And so I think this little delay, whether it's a week or a couple weeks or maybe even more before we get World Tier 5, I have a feeling was meant to be kind of okay, let's just see how this all goes. And then if people find things that they can do, we'll be able to nip it before everyone gets their final gear, because the thing I think is important here is that, well, you know, we've had lots of fun PvP talks and all that. That's the PvP still just fun. There's no real glory in the PvP still. I think that there's definitely some leaderboard stuff and some clan stuff now that makes that different, but the thing to keep in mind is that with the raids comes worlds first, and I think, we don't know this, but I bet there's a system in place for them to award or acknowledge or whatever the worlds first, probably on each platform for the first raid and probably the subsequent raids. And the thing is that in my opinion, let's make that really clear, this will be the first time we have quote unquote competitive content in Division ever. You know, you can have a 10 KD if you want in PvP. Cool, good for you. That's great. You're super good at PvP. But it kind of is what it is. This raid and the world's first, I think is going to be interesting, because as far as I can tell, it's going to be the first time that you can complete an activity in Division that will be acknowledged and recognized by the entire community. And it will take skill of some type to put together 8 players who can complete this task before everyone else in the world. So I think having this delay for World Tier 5 and for all this stuff, you know, they have to be careful with that gear, because it's going to lead to people competing for the first time as a whole community. So I think it's a good idea. I think if they find people exploiting, clearly, I think they should wipe their gear in some way. I highly suspect that's probably not going to happen because of the potential fallout, but we'll have to wait and see. And then the last little thing is just talking about spoilers a little bit. It's a tough topic because I swear I'm not calling people out here. The people who, you know, especially big content creators, I get it. Y'all have to get that first video in. But like, for the love of God, in your thumbnails, can we please not put, like, for these hunters, you know, there's all these masks to collect. Can we please not put the mask on your thumbnails? Because even myself, I found myself after 3 or 4 days of playing this game, I still haven't fought a hunter yet. And that's my choice. I get that. But, you know, if you want to put out a video that says, here's all the hunters and here's what they look like, here's all the masks, that's really cool. But maybe put a hunter from Division 1 on the front. Maybe be more, I don't know, maybe this is just me being sour apples for myself, but like, I kind of wanted to beat those hunters and see those masks for the first time. And now through various methods, whether it's people just posting about it or not, now I think I know what they all look like. And even just like the cipher keys, the talk of those before the game was even out, and just these really blatant posts from all these big community members, people who I really like. And, you know, I have no direct bitterness to them, but I'm like kind of bummed I saw some of this stuff and never had even a minute basically to figure it out on my own. Now that's up to me. I'm the one who saw it. I follow these people. I think maybe there's a shared responsibility there between me and them, but I don't know, man. It's just before the game even came out, people were showing off stuff that people hadn't even had a chance to discover yet, and I think that's kind of a bummer. So I don't know. I doubt there's many other creators who even listen to this, but maybe just, you know, if you want to put that type of stuff out, you know, maybe just consider the way you do it, and consider that, you know, how can I make this attractive to people who want it, but not ruin an experience for people who aren't ready yet. I don't know. Just my thoughts. We are going to wrap it up now with some content updates, and in the most probably gratifying thing I've ever put on here. Like, if you guys don't know who Greg Miller is, he's part of the Kind of Funny Games podcast, and he does like literally everything. He's like one of the pioneering people in being like a game reviewer slash personality slash everything. And I had a moment on Saturday or Saturday, what day is it? On Friday, I think, where I noticed a tweet, and it was him, and I noticed that a picture he had attached was a screenshot of his phone and him listening to the EchoCast on Spotify, and making a joke about how, if you listened last week, you know, I basically made a reference to him and Kind of Funny, doing my AKA Bond Diesel, AKA blah blah blah. And I'm going to be straight up. That was one of the greatest moments of acknowledgement I've ever had. It's not really all about that. It's about me getting a rant for 30 minutes a week, and I get that. And so I'm not, making too big of a deal out of it, but come on, how cool is that? So I want to show appreciation to him and, the rest of his crew who jumped in. And I'm so glad that I saw people from the community jump in and say, hey, make sure to check out SitRep and make sure to check out Bombshell and Locked On and all these other great people. That was just so cool to just realize that, like, this little thing I do where I sit in this room and talk to myself essentially for 30 minutes once a week to get that acknowledgement. And I really appreciate it from him, from all those people, but especially from you guys who listen every week, who listen to me rant and do my thing. So thank you for helping me. We're like ranked and stuff in the podcast and just gaming in general, which is honestly blowing my mind. And I really appreciate everyone who supports this in any way, shape, or form. Moving on. So I really do want to apologize for basically not streaming this release week. If you don't pay attention to my Twitter, you'll know that Monday night I ate a ham sandwich, and we had new ham and old ham in the fridge. The old ham was pretty old, and so I threw it away, made a sandwich with new ham, ate it. That was probably about 6 o'clock, about 6 hours before the game came out, and immediately felt like crap. Streamed for a little bit, and then jumped off and prayed to the porcelain throne the rest of the night. What happened, I think I threw away the new ham, ate the old ham, and well, yeah. So I really am sorry. I haven't done videos. I haven't streamed basically. And it's really not the way I thought this release week would go content wise. And I feel pretty crappy about it. So it is what it is, I guess. I'm actually kind of happy I got the week though to just play the game and enjoy it the way I would have if I didn't stream or make a podcast or do anything. I actually really appreciate that I got to do that. And I guess that's the silver lining. But I also do, a lot of you people subscribe to me on Twitch and, follow me on Twitter and pay attention to this podcast. And I do kind of feel like I let people down, but at the end of the day, I try to take care of myself, and it just kind of it is what it is, I guess. So there we go. I'm still trying to put together some type of giveaway. There's a bunch of pre-order stuff I had that hasn't come in yet, like mugs and so on and so forth. So I'll put something together and post about it soon. But can't spend too much money with the with baby Diesel coming. So and then the last thing here is the Scrub Club, the clan I started on Xbox. As of this moment, I think we're level 7 already, and people are absolutely murdering it. Special shout out to the Urban Menace, who has doubled up the second place clan XP earner, who is Kylo Ren the boss, who's absolutely killing things too, and doing a great job. High five to everyone, but Urban Menace, good lord, you are absolutely carrying us, and I very much appreciate it. If people want into the clan, please let me know. You can look it up and submit an invite. There's a few more people I'm looking to bring on who expressed interest but haven't accepted yet. Once they are in, I will accept entries from people who were interested, who I recognize, and if no one's on there, I'll accept whoever's on there. And just keep an eye out. If people drop off the game and stop playing as much, and I notice, I'll probably kick people out. It's no offense. It's just if you're not playing, you're not really helping. So I'll have to have you leave. And I'll let people know when that happens, when there's spots available. I'll call the herd here and there. And yeah, so if you're in, be active, or else I will boot you. And it's not because I don't like you, but it's because being in there is about earning points and pushing everything forward, getting some rewards. So that's what I have this week. I very much appreciate you listening. If you like the podcast, please follow on whatever platform you're using. If you're on iTunes, please rate the podcast and leave a review. It helps me a lot to get exposure on there. If you check out the podcast on YouTube and you want to see more, Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below with what you thought about anything I talked about. You can even throw questions in there for the following episode if you want. I am on Twitch, where I stream multiple times a week, and on Twitter as Bond Diesel, where you can find a bunch of my content and so on. And that's all I have. So until next time.
1, 2, 3, jump!